I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Lauren Ash, who plays Dina Fox in Superstore, which finished its final season a few months ago, and we're all terribly missing it. Um, Lauren, first of all, Dina, she is intense. She's no nonsense. She believes in what she says, and she's extremely funny. So I'd love to know what you loved most about playing her for 6 seasons.
It's so hard to choose. I mean, it was truly such a joy. But I think honestly, the thing I loved playing about Dina the most was just her unwavering to almost the point of delusion confidence. Like it really honestly changed my life personally, all jokes aside, because I was like, wow, this woman that looks exactly like me is really, really confident. And I was like, I think I should take a page from that book. I think that the way that she handles herself and the fact that she thinks that she is the greatest thing walking is really inspiring. And I think that it's rare to see that. And it's rare. I think it takes people aback when you meet super confident women, especially who are just like, yeah, I'm hot, period. There's no caveat. So that has been something that's been really fun and really inspiring to me in my own life, is that it's like, yeah, you got to take a little page from Dina's book there for sure.
I'm so glad you said that because that's exactly what I love about her too. She's so unapologetic. She's like, "This is me. I'm amazing. You don't like it? Get the hell out." And I really appreciate that about her. And I just wonder. I know we all know that you're not her, but surely when you're out and about and people who like the show might encounter you, are they expecting to get that from you sometimes?
Oh yeah, especially if I go into like a Target type store. There I watch the employees, like I can feel, I'm like, you can feel when someone's watching you, right? And you kind of like look, and then I'll see just like from behind an end cap of shelving, people just like, oh hi, hi Dina, hi, like just the terror. Is she going to be like she is on the show type thing? Usually they do say hello eventually, but yeah, definitely I think that people also, when you play a character for that long, I think like for 6 years is a chunk of time. And even if people are discovering it later, having over 100 episodes, that's a lot of time with associating someone with a way of being. And so yeah, there is definitely that vibe when I meet people in real life, for sure, for sure. People are definitely thinking they're going to get Dina through and through 100%. And there are some places where we cross over,
Yeah,
but we're not the same.
you're not the same. But I think you should just
No.
play like just screw with people and just all of a sudden just switch into the Dina character from time. You can be doing that when you're an old lady, and I just think that
100%.
I think you
The
should.
hands just have to go on the hips. You know what I mean? It's just
Oh
all about how
man,
you stand. And there you go. Then you're
there
in
you
it.
go. That's it. And speaking of people in general, do you ever get a lot of feedback when you're out shopping? Well, we all have to go shopping to buy stuff, right? So you're out and about just doing your thing. You're not working. Do you ever get feedback from people who work in retail about, oh man, well, your show is so realistic? Like, do you ever get that?
All the time. I should also add that I also get recognized even in the mask. Like I think when people hear my voice, they'll
Yeah.
recognize me and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's so funny." But that is the number one feedback that I will get both in social media messages but also when I'm out in stores, is that people really are like, it's such an accurate portrayal of what it's like working in one of those stores. You've nailed the tone, you've nailed the vibe. And my first job in high school was working in a store much like that store. And so I can also attest from my, 3 years in that world that, yeah, it's pretty on the nose, I feel like, in terms of what that experience is like and the friendships you kind of make with people that you probably wouldn't otherwise, but you do. And it's like an odd kind of, you have your like work friends who are kind of like your work family, which again in another lifetime you maybe not wouldn't cross paths or wouldn't know each other, but it just makes sense in that kind of arena. And I do think that it's been really a joy to kind of capture that so well.
Yeah, I think that's why the show, one of the reasons why it has such a broad appeal is we may not all work in that industry, but a lot of us started there. I did for 3 or 4 years when I was just a baby, and well, not literally. And the work friends, the corporate, the idiot customers, just that. And it's a really great way to, a really great place to set a show, a workplace comedy. And that's why the critics actually really got behind this show. And in its last season, it got 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, which called it one of the greatest workplace comedies on TV. What are your thoughts on how this show is actually quite acclaimed for the quality and how funny it was and how true to life and heartwarming it was?
I mean, there's no greater feeling than feeling like you've done something that not only was joyful in the process, because we had such an amazing fun time creatively, also just socially, we had a great time. We all really get along, which makes work a lot easier, obviously. But it's the best feeling, and being able to create something, I come from a comedy background through the Second City world, and we write our own shows there. And there's a very kind of heavy emphasis on satire and, point of view and skewering the things that are happening around us, the experiences that people are all sharing in the world currently. And I do really feel like that's the thing that we nailed fairly early on. And then it really kind of grew. And I find it funny sometimes when people say, like, you really found your footing. And I'm like, I think it was kind of always there. I think that we were doing it from pretty early on. I think it's just as you get to know the characters better and as you get to kind of know the stories better, it just became really interesting how organic it could feel. And you could address these things, these heavy topics that are going on in America and also in the world. And you could do it in a way that felt organic, that felt natural, that didn't feel like we were cramming in some sort of, big message. It just felt like, these are the things that are affecting everybody. Let's see how it affects these people that we've come to know and love that work at store 1217 in St. Louis, Missouri, So yeah. I think that's something that for me, I will always really be very proud of, is that we were able to create a show that not only was, in my opinion, extremely funny, but also had the ability to tell those stories and to show those kinds of different points of view that never felt forced or like we were trying to be an issues show or a very special episode. I think that that's very rarely done. And so that was, that's a huge honor to be a part of something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of when the 6th season premiered, or when production began in September last year, obviously we've all been suffering through this pandemic, and the show tackled it really well and could have been a very special season with, the mask wearing being shoved down people's throats. That's become so politicized, obviously. But It didn't. It just kind of did it because, of course, it had to. You're on the front line. People who work in that store are on the front line, and it dealt with the pandemic in a really authentic way. I'm just wondering what you thought and the challenges of acting through those, masks on your face.
Yeah, I thought it was a great opportunity, in terms of story, that it was, I was honored to get the opportunity for us to represent the frontline workers who were literally everyone's kind of key to survival during an unprecedented time in the past century. People who are working in stores who never asked to literally be risking their health and their lives to make sure that we can get supplies to survive. That's a huge, amazing group. And that people just rose to the occasion, I should say. I think I was excited from a story standpoint, that I was like, I think it's important to recognize those people. And to me, that's non-political. And I don't think that anyone can make those people showing up to work every day during a time where no one knew, you know what I mean? It's to me, that was such a cool thing. And because we had going into season 6, I kept saying, I was like, we're so lucky because everybody knows these characters. They know what we look like. They know what we sound like. They know how our faces move. So I think that if we were coming in season 1 or season 2, it might have felt more jarring. But I think because people who've been with the show and know the show, we kind of got a little bit more leeway when it came to the masks. And then it really became about finding the moments to take them off. How is this going to work? Where can we kind of make those balances happen? which again becomes difficult because you want to be as realistic as possible, but then it means where are you writing in the store and who's where when, and like all those kinds of things. So it was definitely a lot of plates spinning at the same time from a writer's standpoint. But I creatively, I thought it was a great opportunity for us to do what we've always done, which is address the things that are happening, again, like I said, both in America and in the world. And I think we did a great job. I was really, again, proud of how it was. And then, after the first couple of episodes, it became just a part of it. It wasn't constantly about COVID. It was just, this is the new normal. This is what it looks like in stores right now. And it would be exceptionally odd to me if Superstore just never had masks and never addressed it. It just isn't our show. It isn't realistic. It isn't what we've ever done. Now, quickly on the flip, in terms of acting that way, it was a wild time. I mean, LA was the epicenter of the world in terms of coronavirus cases at that time. We were kind of being sent back to work going, let's hope. And we never had any outbreaks on set, which is truly a testament to our cast and our crew. A lot of our crew has been with us right from the beginning of the show. And people were really diligent and really took it seriously. And it was scary, definitely. I can't deny. But I'm very proud also of how we rose to the occasion and were able to create something and create entertainment for people, which of course, during a time, that's what people crave is more content, more entertainment, the ability to laugh, the ability to make fun of this horrific situation that we're all living in some way or another. So that was cool. And the masks weren't too bad, to be honest with you. And it made doing ADR, when you have to pick up little bits of dialogue, you usually have to match your own mouth, but it's a gift when you got a mask on because you don't have to match anything. So little perks, tiny perks.
Silver lining.
Yes.
I personally smashed the whole series during the pandemic, many lockdowns. And when we've got into season 6 and, episode 1, bang, toilet paper shortage. I'm just like, this show is always on the money, and just made me laugh and laugh and laugh. And I just think when you look back on this show in years to come, I hope that you will appreciate how much you and the cast have just made us just burst out laughing so often. That is a gift. It really is.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I also wanted to talk about something else about the show that I find really interesting, because obviously I got into it to begin with, as we talk about offline, because of my kids and because it was about retail, but then that went away pretty quickly, and I realized the show really resonates on a deeper level, like many shows do, but this one in particular resonates because it's about friendship and it's about teamwork, and most particularly it's about the underdog. It's something that we all kind of aspire to kind of root for, that underdog, and love to see them win. What are your thoughts? Because I think that's quite powerful.
I do too. And, I often say I grew up in a small town Canada, very humble start for me. And the only show on television at the time that I felt like I could relate to was Roseanne. I was like, those were the stories that those stories were like what my life was, and money troubles and addressing those kinds of things. And I never really felt like there was anything else at that time in television that spoke to me. And so that's one of the things about Superstore. And I think that speaks to this underdog kind of tone that I totally love. And I agree with. And I think that we all root for the underdog. I think just inherently in life, I think that's how humans traditionally are kind of wired. But there is that heart. There is that you want these people to succeed. You want the people to fall in love. You get invested in the relationships and the friendships on the show. I've said a couple of times that, people talk about the Jonah and Amy love story. And I'm like, I think the real love story is the Dina and Amy love story. The fact that they started out as these kind of, they were coworkers, but that was kind of it. And watching that friendship, and if you binged it, you know what I'm talking about, because you'll see it happen in faster time.
Yeah.
But how that friendship really kind of grew, and watching where they started and where they ended up, to me, I was like, I love that it isn't just about the will they, won't they, the romance, all of that. I love that we're looking at all those different kinds of humanity and seeing, and you get invested in those friendships just as much as the the romantic relationships, you know? And yeah, I just think that there hasn't been a lot of television in North America anyway that I can think of that really does approach the working class, the underdog, those kind of themes, and that's why I think it was time. I'm shocked that this show didn't exist prior to now. I'm shocked it took this long for this very simple premise that just works to kind of come out, you know. And it's yeah, I mean, I root for them. I there was times throughout the filming of the show where I wouldn't read parts of the script ahead of time that I wasn't in, because I was like, I'm so invested in the characters as a fan that I was like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what's happening at the end of the episode. I want to be surprised when I watch it. And I think that just really speaks to, again, not only how the characters were created and how, you know, three-dimensional I feel they all were, but the performances too. I think that we really struck gold in this specific group of people too, and in their creation of who these people became.
Yeah, you're so right. You know, like I assume so many studio heads are saying we don't want to see that kind of working class person on TV. Well, yes, we do, because most people are that, and we want to see ourselves reflected on our screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So important. You know, and also speaking of the Amy Dina friendship, you know, obviously America Ferrera, who was a producer on the show as well, she left after the premiere. And at first there was a bit of hesitation, I think, from some of us fans thinking, oh, look, I wonder how the show will be without her. But I think it really did thrive. It allowed you all to kind of take a more of a center stage. And it was great then to bring her back and to kind of then say goodbye to you all together. Which brings you to this. What were your thoughts on the series finale, I should say, because I found it immensely satisfying. I think it ended perfectly as it should have. What did you think?
I agree. I thought that it was really such a great kind of beautiful way to wrap up the stories of these people. And the thing that I had kind of said throughout this last season, because, you know, we found out partway through the season we weren't coming back, and then of course it's like writers having to catch up and how are they wrapping things up, and there's only so much time that you even have to work with. But the number one thing I kept saying was, I was like, I just think everybody wants to know that everybody's going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I don't think we need necessarily like super hard, you know, very specific details even necessarily, but just more of a feeling like all these people that you've become very invested in are all going to be okay. And I thought the run out of the finale, I mean, I can't watch it without crying, and I've watched it probably 30 times. I can't even really talk about it without crying, because I just thought it was so beautiful. And I thought it was so lovely to get to see, you know, in a very different style from the way the show is normally shot. And that was very deliberate. Yeah. Ruben Fleischer, who directed our pilot and is one of our EPs and has directed episodes throughout, but he had a very specific vision for how he wanted that run out to look. And it was a lot of steady cam and cranes and push-ins and very, very kind of filmic and in a way that felt dreamy almost, I thought. And I thought it was just such a lovely, like, it just kind of resonated not only in the content, but in the feeling it kind of gave you. It was like, it was just like that hug goodnight. It was like that kiss goodnight where we're all, you know what I mean? I felt like it was kind of like the equivalent of seeing all of us just like waving as you're pulling away in the car.
Yeah.
It just felt nice. And I just thought it was such a beautiful ending, and getting to see all the characters at that barbecue, I thought was really sweet. Getting to see Dina and Garrett happier than we've ever seen them, getting to see little bits of Amy and Jonah. So we know they're together. We know that they're married. They had a honeymoon. They had another child, you know, but then also seeing that some of the work friendships continued, that they're still in each other's lives. Glenn gets to open his store. I mean, I just thought it was the best.
It really was. Not only was it respectful to all of the characters, but it was just, I think it respected us, the audience. We needed that. We've spent a lot of time with you people, and we want to make sure that you're okay. 100%.
It's true though, because if a show gets canceled sometimes, then sometimes the last episode, the series finale is just whatever it was at the time of cancellation. And it was nice. I really do value that we at least had the time especially as a testament to our fans to really kind of just give them a nice clean ending. I thought that it was very respectful to the fans, but also to the show and the characters and stories.
Absolutely. Well, Lauren, we're going to miss it. We certainly miss Dina, and I look forward to seeing more of you on our screens hopefully very soon. Thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.